As sure as winter comes, then another spring, summer and fall, our bird dogs age. And since they age faster than we do, and perhaps because we may be in denial about getting older ourselves, it is easy to ignore. My rude awakening came just 1 week into the new upland bird hunting season last year. Although my almost 11-year-old Brittany, Lil Miss Odie, tore into the ferns and popple stands with her usual vigor, I soon found something changing. I didn't realize that in a matter of weeks our fall hunt would be forever different. I have to admit that in the past few years I had wondered when this little grouse and woodcock-seeking missile would begin to slow down. Not yet, I thought, as I struggled to keep up on our first hunt, as the chest-high ferns waved back and forth 25 yards out, and the bell rang non-stop. There I was, at 57 years of age, in hot pursuit of an almost 77 years in dog-time old torpedo running full bore after the birds she knew were there. Finally the bell stopped, and we hunters moved in, looking for her orange vest down beneath the ferns. Sure enough, she was on point, and we got a brief reprieve from the chase. I was almost out of breath as I saw her in a low point, eyes moving around in search of the woodcock. I walked into the thicket, and she remained still. We'd done this 100 times before. Last year seemed suddenly like yesterday. We once again eclipsed the sense of time, and we were not older. We were in the hunting continuum, where we were immortal, and the birds were not. Up went the woodcock, as if shot from a cannon, and behind me, my son-in-law, Roger, deftly dispatched the bird. Odie ran in tight circles looking for it, amidst our reprise of "dead bird, dead bird." We marked where it fell, but relied on Odie to find it. She wouldn't fetch a woodcock. The one retrieve of a woodcock, I remember, lasted about 6 seconds until she literally spit it out. I have heard since that some dogs don't like the taste, and Odie clearly prefers grouse. With downed woodcock, her custom is to circle the area, stop when she finds the bird, sniff briefly, then resume her chase for the next quarry. That day, however, she did not even look for the bird in the early season cover. She did not respond to dead bird, and we were not able to find it. Fox food. Odie then ran way off. We could barely hear the bell. Calling her name, blowing the whistle. Nothing worked. In desperation, I fired off 2 rounds. That seemed to work. Back came the little Brit, still moving and sniffing like a hog. Then came that look you always get when they settle down. Am I good? We continued to hunt and put up a couple more birds that morning with no shots fired. For the first outing of the season, there was no doubt that our dog's nose was good to go, but she wasn't obeying commands very well. Time to get the shock collar out for some fine-tuning, I thought. Just an older dog getting a bit stubborn. Yes, thinking back the past few weeks, I even recalled my wife, Mary, saying, "She is not coming when called. She just looks at me." I made a resolution to fully charge the collar before the next hunt, mostly for the buzzer sound the collar makes prior to a shock. The old collar was dead and wouldn't hold a charge. Well, we will just work harder on commands, I said to myself. Things went great during our next hunt. Little Odie pointed 2 fine grouse in a single hour, and both ended up in the game bag. But things were not as usual. She retrieved the first grouse from a cedar thicket where I could see the dead bird, but Odie couldn't see me. She picked up the grouse and I called her to me. She just stood there, grouse in mouth, looking a bit confused. She dropped it and stepped back, doing that classic thing retrieving dogs do, choking on a mouthful of feathers. You want to get a picture of that, but you never have the camera handy at the moment it happens. With the second grouse, things got even weirder. The grouse landed in a pine stand with about 3 feet of clearance and went into a very loud wing-beating death throw. Odie seemed to respond to the shotgun, went into the usual find the dead bird frenzy, but didn't hear the bird flopping noisily 25 feet away. Finally, I stopped Odie, sat her down, and I retrieved the bird. She did the usual sniffing and licking, looking very happy, and once again, that look. Am I good? Returning to the truck, I opened the door and said, "Kennel?" She looked at me. "Kennel," I repeated, then patted the dog bed, and she jumped in. At this point, I still had not connected the dots. When the dog looked at me, or I used familiar gestures, nothing was different, she responded. But I hadn't been locked on to what was not happening when we weren't facing each other. Having lunch that afternoon, I said to Mary, "I don't think she can hear us anymore." Odie was snoozing on the floor in the sun. I got up and grabbed the bell we clip on the hunting collar, returned to the table. "Watch this," I said, and I shook the bell to a gentle ringing, then fiercely. I called Odie by name. A year ago this snoozer would have been up on all fours, firing the retro rockets and coming to put on the bell for another hunt. She was deaf. When the snoozing was over, I took her out into the yard with my over-under 28 gauge, and when she wasn't looking, fired a round. She spun around and immediately went into the bird find frenzy, looking at me for directions I could not verbalize anymore. I got a big lump in my throat, so she can either feel or hear the pop of the shotgun. I got out the whistles. None of them worked. The only way I know to move past a problem is to move straight ahead with a plan. Where we live in northern Michigan at the headwaters of the Manistee River, the leaves were not down yet, but were near peak. When all the leaves came down and the hard freeze flattened the cover, Mr. Grouse would lose some of his advantage. So Odie and I adjusted and moved straight ahead to our objective. There was still time to hunt and be immortal when the grouse were not. We had the advantage with her nose, and time was on our side. I now use hand commands with Odie. Many of them are gestures I once used with words. Now they are exaggerated. Since I cannot verbally praise her, I do a lot more petting. Odie wears a vibrating collar now and 3 lightweight bells. I give her 2 vibrate signals, and generally she stops and looks for me. Then I hand signal her in. It is working better every weekend. I know the bells don't help her situation, but I need to always be able to locate her. And I use a high-pitched whistle, but remain unconvinced that she hears it consistently. She also wears an orange vest, where I printed "I am deaf" in big letters. I also have a sign that goes on the tail end of the truck when parked on a 2-track that says, "Caution, deaf dog." I never hunt on windy days when I can't hear well. On calm days, I have never hunted so silently. There is just the sound of bells, maybe a shotgun, maybe a whistle. No words are necessary. The lack of verbal sounds brings a religious, eerie quiet to the hunt. I never hunt without a leash in my pocket. If she gets far away and doesn't look back, I run an intercept pattern and lead her back. I wear lightweight boots to run faster too. We repeatedly hunt familiar spots with good cover, food and birds. No new spots until the weather forces the cover into retreat and we can see each other more easily. I now carry food treats for when we get back to the truck. A lot of times I walk Odie back from a long hunt into the wind on leash and give her a treat. She cannot figure out the treat thing yet. We never use treats for hunting. At the house, we have a bell collar to better locate Odie when she goes out. She likes to sit at the windy spot on the side of our log house with her nose into the west wind crossing the river valley. All those smells of hundreds of birds waft toward her. Inside the house, she follows me around constantly unless she's sleepy. Probably needs to keep me in her sights in her tranquil world, like I am going to sneak off hunting with a younger dog. Yeah, right. Never going to happen. After all, we have a plan and she needs to ask, "Am I good?" Republished with permission from Caution Deaf Dog by Don Desautels, 2006. The Upland Almanac, Summer 2006. 2006 by Don Desautels.